Leptospirosis. You wake up one morning and your entire skin is bright yellow. Your eyes, tongue, and literally everywhere on your body looks like an overripe lemon. You also feel like you've been beaten black and blue by a very angry gorilla because every single joint and bone hurts. When you finally made it to the hospital, the doctor broke the news. You had leptospirosis, a real-life bacterial infection that makes your immune system rage quit. It starts off sneaky. You're just out there living your best outdoorsy life, swimming in a lake, hiking through mud, maybe cleaning up after a flood. But somewhere in that adventure, you cross paths with water or soil that's been peed on by an infected animal. Yes, pee. That's the way the Leptospira bacteria introduces itself to your bloodstream. Dogs are usually the culprit that carry it since they're directly exposed to it. At first, it fakes you out. Fever, chills, headaches, maybe some muscle pain. Basically, it's cosplaying as the flu, but then it gets spicy. For some people, leptospirosis escalates into full-on organ trauma. We're talking liver damage, kidney failure, meningitis, the works. You might even die. And the worst part is, most people don't even know they've got it, because your brain initially thinks it's just a bad cold, so by the time you realize it's not, your liver is already filing HR complaints. Ondline Curse. Ondline Curse is a super rare condition where the automatic part of breathing just doesn't show up to work. Like, your brain is in charge of making sure you breathe without thinking about it, during sleep, during Netflix binges, even when you're doing absolutely nothing. But with Ondline Curse, that system's basically on airplane mode. Fun fact about this disease is that it was named after a mythological water nymph who cursed her unfaithful lover. Apparently, she tells him, as long as you're awake, you'll breathe, but if you ever fall asleep, you'll stop. Harsh, but iconic. However, the medical version isn't quite as petty, but it's just as brutal. People with this curse literally can't breathe properly once they fall asleep because their brain forgets to tell the lungs to keep going. And this isn't about clogged airways or weak lungs, it's a brainstem problem. The part of the brain that normally runs your body's autopilot breathing just doesn't send the memo. So unless they're consciously focused or hooked up to a ventilator during sleep, someone with this could stop breathing entirely. It's usually diagnosed in newborns who seem fine when they're awake but go blue and silent during naps. Yeah, scary. Life expectancy depends on how early it's caught and managed, usually with mechanical ventilation or implanted devices that keep breathing on track. If you think this disease is bad, please subscribe to hear about more, I guess. Paraneoplastic pemphigus, PNP. First, you'll start to notice really red-hot blisters in your mouth. We are talking ulcers, raw, angry sores that make chewing feel like you're trying to eat a cactus. Then it'll spread onto your skin. The worst thing about PNP is that it's not just attacking for fun, but it shows up as a side effect of something much bigger. In every case, there is usually a tumor hiding somewhere. Basically, your body spots the tumor, panics, and starts firing off antibodies, which in a normal situation would be great, right? Except in PNP, those antibodies completely miss the memo and start torching your skin and mucous membranes instead. To even diagnose this disorder, doctors have to play detectives, biopsies, blood work, maybe imaging, because they're not just treating a rash, but are trying to find the mastermind behind it. And once they do, it turns into a two-front war. First, they've got to treat the tumor, then calm the autoimmune meltdown with steroids, immunosuppressants, sometimes even chemo-level stuff. PNP is rare, aggressive, and it's complicated, but it's also a warning signal. A very painful, very loud signal that something deeper is going on, and catching it early can be a literal lifesaver. Kuru. To be honest, every disease has its own level of weird that just makes humans wish we could totally eliminate sickness, but this particular disease is so creepy, it legit sounds made up. Like, we're talking haunted forest, ancient curse kind of made up. And its name is Kuru, aka the Laughing Death. Not like ha-ha funny, more like your muscles start twitching, your speech slurs, and then you lose control, start laughing uncontrollably, and slowly shut down from the inside out. Yeah, that's just wrong. And this nightmare fuel comes from Papua New Guinea, specifically the Foray people, a tribe living in the highlands. In the mid-1900s, they started experiencing a mysterious deadly illness that mostly hit women and children. The symptoms were tremors, jerky movements, weird emotional outbursts, and eventually death. Always death. Doctors were stumped until they realized something culturally sensitive. The Foray practiced ritual cannibalism, but not in a scary horror movie way. It was actually about love and respect. When someone died, family members would cook and eat parts of the body, especially the brain, to honor them. Like, you were so important, so now you live on in us. Beautiful in a spiritual way, devastating in a neurological way, because Kuru is caused by a prion, which is hands down the worst kind of protein. Imagine a protein that's like a gremlin. Once it shows up, it convinces other proteins in your brain to fold the wrong way. It's like biological peer pressure gone rogue. The kicker? Kuru has an incubation period that could last years. Like, you eat the infected brain when you're 7 and you don't get sick until you're 30. So for a long time, no one could connect the dots. Thankfully, nowadays Kuru seems to be completely eradicated since cannibalism is not in trend anymore. Fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, FOP. You know how your body usually heals a bruise by quietly minding its business and patching things up with some tissue? Yeah, FOP doesn't do that. FOP takes the whole healing thing and goes full chaos mode. Instead of fixing injuries with something chill like scar tissue, it just builds bone everywhere. Like, oh, you stubbed your toe? Here's a permanent skeleton upgrade. This condition's full name is Fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, and it basically means your muscles, tendons, and ligaments slowly turn into bone. The villain behind this story is a gene called ACVR1. Normally, it helps regulate bone growth like a responsible adult. But in FOP, that gene loses all sense of boundaries. It sees minor injuries, infections, even routine shots, and starts to build bones there. And once it starts, there's no undo button. So that new bone formation is there to stay forever. People with FOP can't even get routine medical care without risk. A flu shot, dental work, or even falling off your bike, and you might literally grow a new chunk of skeleton where you landed. It starts off with a stiff neck or frozen shoulder, but then it escalates. Joints start fusing, arms lock, legs quit bending, ribs can trap the lungs. Eventually, walking, eating, and even breathing become practically impossible. Methemogloninemia. Have you ever felt dizzy, a little out of breath, maybe even a weird shade of blue, and you think it's just tiredness? Plot twist, you might be oxidizing wrong. That's methemogloninemia, a condition where your blood straight up forgets how to do its job. Normally, hemoglobin's job is to carry oxygen like an Uber driver for your cells. But with methemogloninemia, it mutates into the kind of hemoglobin that just doesn't want to work, aka methemoglobin. Your blood still looks like it's working, but your organs are backstage gasping for air. This can be genetic, or it can be acquired from taking certain medications, chemicals, or even topical anesthetics. Yes, the numbing spray at the dentist might just turn your blood into a lazy oxygen hoarder. Luckily, there's an antidote called methylene blue, which sounds like a paint color, but works like magic. It reboots your hemoglobin like turning it off and on again. Loiasis, African eyeworm. You feel something move across your eye, not like dust, but like it's wiggling and crawling around in there. Then your eye starts itching, then burning. Well, unfortunately, you might have loiasis, also known as African eyeworm. Yep, eyeworm. Ugh. Loiasis is caused by a parasitic worm that hitches a ride via deer flies in Central and West Africa. One bite and the microscopic larvae are in your bloodstream, living rent-free and growing up to 7 centimeters long. Eventually, they take a scenic route through your body, like your skin or, across your actual eyeball. It doesn't hurt at first. You might just feel a weird tickle or see a blur move across your vision. Next, it causes random swelling, soft, squishy bumps that show up out of nowhere, usually on your arms or face. These are called calabar swellings. They don't hurt much, but they're your body's response to the fact that there's a worm living and wiggling inside your eyeball. Progeria, HGPS. You spot him at a family gathering. Your 7-year-old cousin looks like an 85-year-old man suffering from multiple fatal diseases. And when you ask your mom, she tells you he has a condition called progeria, a super rare genetic condition where kids age way faster than they're supposed to. I'm talking being 2 years old and your cells are already acting like they've hit retirement. This condition isn't even just about looking old. We're talking hair loss, stiff joints, fragile bones, and heart problems in toddlers. Most kids with progeria only live into their early teens, maybe 20s. Now, progeria is caused by a mutation in a single gene, LMNA. This gene makes a protein called lamin A, which is basically the scaffolding inside your cell's nuclei, like the steel beams that keep a building from collapsing. But in kids with progeria, the gene misfires and makes a toxic version called progerin. This stuff messes with the nucleus, turning it from a nice smooth circle into something that looks like a crumpled paper bag. The cells age prematurely, so the body automatically follows suit. As scary as it sounds, this condition is extremely rare, like 1 in about 20 million births. There are maybe 100 kids with it in the entire world at any given time. The plot twist in this condition is that healthy people make this progerin protein too, just in tiny amounts as we get older. Von Hippel-Lindau disease. You know that one friend who just has to be a little extra? That's basically von Hippel-Lindau disease in your body. This is basically a hereditary condition where your DNA decides to go full overachiever in the worst way possible. VHL is what happens when one specific gene, the VHL gene, mutates and stops doing its job. Its job? Basically tumor control, like a molecular bouncer that keeps cells from getting rowdy. But when that gene calls in sick permanently, things get out of hand. Blood vessels go wild, tumors start showing up like uninvited guests, and your organs are left to fight for themselves. It doesn't just hit one part of your body either. Nope, VHL is a full body tour. Brain, spine, kidneys, eyes, pancreas, even your adrenal glands can get involved. And these guys aren't just any tumors, we're talking hemangioblastomas, which is actually a blood vessel-based growth with too much main character energy. They're usually benign, meaning not cancer, but still super inconvenient. The worst part is that VHL is genetic, inherited, so you're born with it. It's not something you catch, it's something your DNA sneakily packs in your suitcase before you even leave the womb. Wolfram syndrome. Your body has a glitch in the code, and not the fun kind where you get superpowers. We're talking about Wolfram syndrome, a rare inherited condition where your cells basically act like they missed the group chat on how to stay alive. It starts off looking like regular problems. Vision gets weird, blood sugar crashes, maybe you're told you've got diabetes. But it's not just diabetes, it's your body quietly running a self-destruct protocol behind the scenes. Over time, Wolfram syndrome can affect your eyes, ears, nerves, bladder, basically anywhere your body relies on finely tuned machinery. And the machinery? Yeah, it's starting to jam. The villain here is your WFS1 gene, which normally makes a protein that helps your cells handle stress. But when that gene goes rogue, your cells start panicking like interns on their first day. The result? Cell death, especially in the brain and pancreas, which are kind of important if you like seeing, hearing, or, staying alive. This is why doctors sometimes call it DID mode, which sounds like a rejected Star Wars droid, but actually stands for diabetes insipidus, diabetes mellitus, optic atrophy, and deafness. 4 hits, 1 syndrome, no chill. And here's the kicker, because it's rare, like 1 in 500,000 rare, Wolfram syndrome is often misdiagnosed, brushed off, or flat out ignored. It's the kind of thing that makes you wish your body came with a user manual, or at least better tech support. Whipple's disease. You've probably never heard of Whipple's disease, and honestly, your small intestine was hoping to keep it that way. Because this is a rare bacterial infection that sneaks in, sets up camp, and starts messing with everything from digestion to your joints to your brain, like it's trying to win most chaotic disease of the year. It starts off chill, maybe some weight loss, a bit of joint pain, nothing wild. Then, boom, diarrhea, malnutrition, and neurological symptoms show up like uninvited party guests who also trash the place. The cause? A bacteria called Tropheriма whippleyi, which sounds like something a mad scientist would name after sneezing mid-sentence. However, it's treatable with antibiotics if you catch it in time. But because it mimics a bunch of other illnesses like Crohn's, rheumatoid arthritis, your general I'm tired and bloated vibe, it often gets misdiagnosed. Whipple's disease is rare, but it's a reminder. Just listen to your body when it starts acting sus. Fatal familial insomnia. You ever been so tired you feel like you're going to die? Well, fatal familial insomnia says, bet. It's a rare genetic disorder where your brain literally forgets how to fall asleep, permanently. And yeah, the fatal part isn't just for drama. It starts off subtle, trouble sleeping, maybe some anxiety. Then your brain goes full glitch mode. We're talking hallucinations, panic attacks, muscle twitches, and eventually total sleep loss. Not less sleep, 0 sleep. Like your body hits the off switch and just forgets where to put it. The cause? A mutation in the PRNP gene that makes your brain produce a misfolded protein called a prion. Prions are like evil origami. Once one folds wrong, it convinces all the others to fold wrong too, turning your thalamus, which is the sleep control center, into mush. With this condition, there's no cure, no treatment. Once symptoms hit, there's no pause button. Most people only survive a few months to a year after onset. Plus, sleep meds are useless because you can't sedate a brain that's forgot how to power down. Paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, PNH. You wake up feeling like you ran a marathon in your sleep. You're tired, your pee looks like a strong cup of tea, and your body's throwing a silent tantrum. Welcome to paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, or PNH because life's too short to say that every time. This condition is basically your blood cells getting bullied by your own immune system. Your red blood cells are missing some important do not destroy tags, so your body thinks they're enemies and starts blasting them, especially at night. Why at night? Nobody knows. Maybe your immune system gets bored in the dark. The destruction releases hemoglobin into your bloodstream, which your kidneys politely dump into your urine, hence the morning pee surprise. But it doesn't stop there. Fatigue hits like a truck. You might get chest pain, shortness of breath, headaches, and in the worst plot twist, deadly blood clots. Some people don't even know they have it until something scary happens, like a clot in the lungs or stomach pain that feels like betrayal. Bottom line, this condition is rare, sneaky, and serious. But there are treatments. There are meds that can block the attack squad and help your red blood cells chill. Cold agglutinin disease. You could step outside on a cool morning, feel fine, and still trigger a microscopic bar fight inside your bloodstream. That's cold agglutinin disease. It happens when your immune system sees cold weather and decides your red blood cells are strangers at the party, so it attacks them. No warning, no chill, just get out. When you get cold, special antibodies called cold agglutinins wake up like bouncers at a sketchy club. They see your red blood cells and go, "You don't belong here." Then they make them clump together, block your blood flow, and sometimes even break apart. That's when you feel tired, dizzy, or turn weird shades of blue and purple. This isn't frostbite, but your body trying to evict itself. The worst part is that people don't even know it's happening until winter hits and their hands go numb like they're texting in a freezer. Sometimes it's triggered by infections, sometimes it shows up like an unwanted house guest. Either way, the fix usually starts with staying warm and calming your immune system down.